Have you ever wondered, what if every ghost story you've ever heard wasn't real, but made to feel real? What if your deepest fears, those things that crawl in your mind at night, were not accidents, but planted there? Tonight's story is not just a tale, it's a confession. A man claims he once worked for a secret organization whose sole purpose was to make people believe they were haunted, until something far worse began haunting them. Stay with me till the end, because what you'll hear tonight might just make you question the last time you felt afraid. My name is Harlan Drex, and I was once what they called a fear pusher. It's been 17 years since I left that life behind, but lately, I've been feeling watched again. So before anything happens, I want this recorded. Someone out there deserves to know the truth. Back in the early 90s, I worked for a private research division hidden under a front company called the Narrated Institute. Officially, we handled behavioral studies on human reactions to stress. Unofficially, we created hauntings. You heard that right. We didn't just study fear, we manufactured it. Our job was to target random individuals or families, infiltrate their environment, and slowly convince them that something supernatural was following them. Every sound, every shadow, every whisper, they were all planted. It began innocently enough. Hidden speakers playing faint cries at 3 a.m., modified electromagnetic devices that made lights flicker, a little infrared tech that projected ghostly silhouettes on walls. People broke down faster than you'd imagine. But it wasn't just the experiments that unsettled me. It was what happened afterward. Each time a subject's fear reached a breaking point, when they'd start losing sleep, seeing things, or screaming at nothing, our sensors would spike. Unexplainable surges of electromagnetic activity filled their homes. At first, we assumed it was a side effect of our devices. But soon we realized it wasn't us. Something was responding. We started calling it the entity. No matter where we ran a test, Detroit, Edinburgh, Portland, Manchester, it would show up. The readings were consistent. Low-frequency pulses, drops in temperature, and static distortions on all our recordings. It was feeding on fear. One night, my supervisor, Dr. Letha Morvan, pulled me aside. Her face was pale, her voice trembling in a way I'd never heard before. She told me one of the subjects, a woman named Alara Vint, had taken her own life after reporting that a black figure had started whispering her name. When we examined the footage, the figure was there, but not part of our equipment. It was standing behind her, watching. We froze every frame. The figure moved even when the video was paused. After that, most of the team resigned. Those who stayed did it for money or curiosity. But the longer we stayed, the more we noticed something spreading through us. The nightmares, the paranoia. I began to see the same black silhouette standing near my bed, unmoving, night after night. At first, I thought it was guilt. But when I recorded my sleep, it was there on the footage, always standing closer than before. That's when I realized the entity didn't just feed on the victims, it fed on us too. We weren't the experimenters anymore. We had become the subjects. After that night, I couldn't sleep properly. Every sound in my apartment felt orchestrated. The creak of the walls, the ticking of the pipes, even the hum of the fridge. It all felt like part of the same old operation, except this time, I was the target. I tried to resign officially, but Dr. Morvan wouldn't approve it. She looked exhausted, her eyes hollow. "Harlan," she said quietly, "it doesn't matter if you leave. It follows anyone who's seen it." Those words never left me. A week later, the Narrated Institute went dark. Phones disconnected, research logs deleted, offices sealed. Everyone vanished. No closure, no statement. Only an unsigned email sent to our private network with one line. Containment breached. Do not seek contact. I left town that same night. But you can't escape what doesn't need doors to follow you. In the months that followed, I started noticing patterns, like it was trying to remind me of what I'd done. Random streetlights would flicker when I passed beneath them. Static would crawl across my TV when I turned it on. And sometimes, I'd hear my own voice echoing faintly through the speakers, saying things I'd never said. I started digging again, tracing what was left of the Nuven Institute. Most files were wiped, but one name kept reappearing in digital fragments: Project Umbra. The classified memo I found was only 2 pages long, but those 2 pages changed everything. According to the document, Project Umbra was not just a fear experiment, it was a summoning. The organization had discovered that collective human terror emitted measurable energy, a kind of psychic charge that could be harnessed. The experiments weren't about testing people's reactions, they were about feeding something. The entity, as we called it, wasn't a byproduct. It was the consumer. We weren't creating hauntings, we were inviting one. And the more people believed in the fear we planted, the stronger it became. Every rumor, every viral ghost story, every urban legend, it all contributed to its reach. It wasn't haunting individual houses anymore. It was haunting belief itself. I remember visiting one of the old sites, a small house on the outskirts of Portland. The woman who lived there, Alara Vint, had died inside it. Everything was gone except for a single photograph left nailed to the wall. It showed her smiling on her porch, but in the reflection of the window beside her, that same black figure stood in perfect clarity. When I blinked, the photograph moved. The shadow turned its head toward me. I burned the photo that night. But later, I found ash prints, human-sized, on the hood of my car. That was when I realized no one had truly escaped the Nuven Institute. We had all become its conduits. And maybe that's why I'm speaking now. Because silence, I've learned, only makes it stronger. It's been 3 nights since I last slept. Every time I close my eyes, I hear whispers, low, almost rhythmic, like breathing from the walls. I've tried recording them, but when I play the files back, there's nothing. Only silence. And then, at the end of each clip, my own voice saying, "Keep talking, Harlan." I know what it wants. It doesn't feed on death or violence. It feeds on confession, on retelling. Every time I talk about it, every time I remember those days at the Nuven Institute, it listens. And every time someone else hears this story, it grows stronger. You see, the entity is not a creature in the shadows. It's not a ghost or demon or curse. It's an idea, an organism born from human belief, shaped by our fear of the unknown. We built it when we began to fear our own thoughts, when we convinced ourselves that the darkness was watching. Project Umbra wasn't just a summoning, it was an awakening. We didn't bring the entity into our world. We made it realize we existed. And the truth is, it's no longer confined to one person, one place, or one haunting. It lives wherever fear is shared. Every scream recorded, every horror story told, every person watching something and believing it might be real. That's where it grows. That's why I'm terrified to even say this out loud. Because by listening to me, by believing what I'm telling you right now, you're letting it see you too. Dr. Morvan understood that at the end. Before she disappeared, she sent me one last voice message. I've memorized every word. She said, "We made fear contagious. And once you've been infected, it never leaves you." I didn't understand what she meant until now. You don't need to see the entity to feel it. You just need to believe that something's there when you turn off the lights. And if you've ever felt that, the quiet dread that something unseen is behind you, then maybe it's already found you. Maybe that's how it spreads, through stories like this one. So if you feel the air change while listening, if your screen flickers or the shadows move just a little too long, don't panic. It only reacts when you fear it. But remember, once you've heard its name, once you've pictured that figure in your head, you've already called it closer. If you're still here, thank you for listening to my story. If you ever feel like someone's watching you tonight, maybe it's just your imagination. Or maybe something finally found you interesting enough to watch back. If this story made you think, or made you feel, then don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more true horror tales like this. Share it with someone who says they don't believe in the paranormal. And in the comments, tell me if you've ever felt a fear you couldn't explain. Because sometimes, the moment you share it, it shares you.